So, when you think of Tesla, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Sleek cars? Rockets? Maybe Elon Musk himself? It's this company that just seems to operate on this bizarre mix of, I don't know, unpredictable genius and pure market force. But what if the real story, the actual secret to their dominance, isn't about the products or the person at all? What if it's something way more powerful and a whole lot more systematic?
The book we're drawing from for this explainer makes this really bold claim right from the get-go. It says, hey, this is not a story about Tesla. This is about the invisible architecture of disruption. Basically, the argument is that for years, we've all been staring at the lightning strike, completely ignoring the terrifying and kind of beautiful physics of the storm that created it.
And that is exactly what we're going to do here. We're moving past the myth of just one guy to uncover the reality, a brutally effective and maybe even replicable system. It's a blueprint for disruption that has huge implications, far, far beyond just the car industry.
Okay, first things first. We have to understand the foundational pillar of this whole system. It's this idea that Tesla isn't just another company making cars. In fact, in the traditional sense, it's not really a company at all. It's a crusade.
Now, check out the contrast on this slide because it's pretty stark. On one side, you've got your typical corporate mission statement. You know the ones, right? These vague, fluffy platitudes about stakeholder value and operational excellence that, let's be honest, nobody actually remembers. And then on the other side, you have what the source calls Tesla's doctrine, a non-negotiable, unshakable prime directive. And there it is, just a handful of words that act like a gravitational field for every single decision the company makes. This isn't just some poster on the wall. The book argues it's a declaration of intent. It's a battle cry. And the key word, the most important word here, is accelerate. Not participate in, not contribute to, accelerate. That word implies that the current speed of change is dangerously slow, and it positions Tesla as this outside force, designed specifically to provoke a violent reaction in a system that's just too lazy to move.
So this doctrine becomes more than a mission. It becomes a strategic weapon. As you can see, it acts as a gravity well for talent, pulling in not just employees, but what the book calls cathedral builders. These are the people who are driven by meaning, not just a paycheck. It's also a shield of justification, giving them the air cover to make these enormous long-term bets that Wall Street would normally just freak out about. And, maybe most powerfully, it's a moral hammer, which frames any opposition as basically being an obstacle to saving the planet. I mean, you can copy a car, sure, but how on earth do you copy a crusade?
So that crusade is the why, but it's powered by the second pillar of the system, a ruthless focus on physics, not precedent. This really explains the how. It's the core operating system behind all of Tesla's innovation. And it starts by completely rejecting the idea that breakthroughs are just these random eureka moments.
The source calls this first principles engineering. And really, it's a process of intellectual demolition. It's this disciplined, often kind of brutal method of taking a complex problem and just breaking it down to its most fundamental, unchangeable truths. You know, the actual laws of physics and math. And only then do you start to build a solution back up from there, completely ignoring how anyone has ever done it before.
And this just lays out the difference perfectly. For 100 years, the entire auto industry operated by analogy, by precedent. Their starting point was always, well, this is how we've always made a car door. Tesla asks a completely different question. What do the laws of physics actually allow? It's a fundamental shift from just making something a little bit better to total reinvention.
Let's look at a classic example. For years, the auto industry just accepted a simple fact. Batteries cost about $600 per kilowatt hour. That number was treated like a law of nature. And because of it, the dream of an affordable, long-range electric car was, well, a mathematical impossibility. But by applying first principles, Tesla asked a different question. Wait a minute, what are batteries actually made of? So they went and added up the cost of the raw materials on the commodities market, cobalt, nickel, carbon. The answer? Around $80 per kilowatt hour. That staggering gap, the difference between $80 and $600, that wasn't a cost. It was an inefficiency. And that inefficiency became Tesla's battlefield.
Okay, so you have a crusade, and you have this radical method for solving problems. But the third pillar is maybe the most counterintuitive one. It's the idea that real success isn't born from some perfect plan, but that it's actually forged in the inferno of an engineered crisis.
I'm sure we all remember the stories of production hell when the Model 3 was ramping up. The media, the analysts, competitors, everyone was reporting it as this catastrophic failure. But the source we're looking at argues it was the exact opposite.
It was a self-inflicted, completely deliberate forging process designed to force radical, compressed learning. The mechanism for this is this really powerful concept known as a forcing function. It's all about setting a goal or a constraint that is so severe, so utterly impossible, that it makes all your old ways of working completely obsolete. It just vaporizes the status quo. You can't just work harder, you are forced to invent a completely new way forward.
And this is exactly how it played out in practice. First, Tesla sets an impossible public goal: produce 500,000 cars a year. That alone incinerated all the old processes. You just can't get there doing things the old way. And that, in turn, forced radical solutions. That insane deadline is what directly led to things like building an entire assembly line in a tent. This brutal process basically compressed what should have been a decade of industrial learning into just a few agonizing months.
So let's bring this all together now. What actually happens when you combine these three powerful interlocking elements? Well, you get what the source material calls the unbreakable system.
And this gets us to the most crucial point. The real competitive advantage, the moat that's built around Tesla, it isn't a single product. It's not a patent. It is the system itself. Think about it. A competitor can go out and build a great electric car. What they can't easily replicate is the cultural and operational engine that produces these innovations at such an incredible scale and speed. And that engine is built on these three interlocking pillars we've just walked through. You've got the prime directive, a mission that acts as a gravity well for the best talent and capital. You've got the core methodology, first principles thinking that just demolishes convention. And you have the forging process, engineered crises that build resilience and literally force breakthroughs. Each part makes the others stronger, creating the self-reinforcing flywheel of innovation.
Which leads us to the final, and I think the most provocative question. The source material doesn't present this as just a story about cars. It calls it a blueprint for conquering any industry. So what do you think? Is this brutal, high-pressure, but undeniably effective system? Is it the future of innovation? Is this the playbook that's going to define the next generation of world-changing companies?